Okay, hi there. This afternoon's webinar is on anonymous marking in Moodle. My name's Chris Rowell, work as an academic developer in CRIT. Okay, before I get into the content of this afternoon's webinar, I'll just take you through some instructions for the actual webinar. So what I've done is switched off all the microphones, so I'm the only person who can speak. But if you'd like to ask me a question about anonymous marking or about anything I say during the presentation, you can use the chat facility. So just click on the chat facility, which is the icon on the bottom left of your screen. You can see it highlighted with the arrow, and then type in a message there. Okay. Right, in terms of what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to give a short presentation. So I'm just going to outline some of the recent changes that have happened here at LSBU to anonymous marking, or blind marking as we call it in Moodle. So I'll talk about that very briefly first. Then I'll go into and do a live demonstration in Moodle, so what it looks like to see your student submissions when anonymous marking is switched on. We'll look at how to download and mark the students' work, and then finally reveal the grades to the students. So hopefully that will all be done in about less than 20 minutes. Okay. Alright, so there's a lot of text here on this screen, but I'll just briefly go through some of the main points. Literally up until this week, let's first of all make the point is that when I use the word anonymous marking and blind marking, I mean the same thing. So in Moodle, the actual tool is called blind marking. That's why I'll use the words interchangeably. Okay, so on the 3rd of October, the quality standards meeting, anonymous marking became the default option in Moodle. So as of this week, whenever anybody sets up an assignment or goes to set up an assignment, it automatically anonymous marking, i.e. blind marking, will be the default setting. Okay, so if a lecturer decides they don't want to do that, don't want to use blind marking, they actually have to switch it off in the assignment. If they do so and they decide that blind marking is something they don't want to use for whatever reason, they think it's not appropriate, or it's not something they want to use for that assignment, they must tell the students that. So along with the assignment, there needs to be an explanation to the students of why they're not using anonymous marking. Okay, in terms of what actually we mean by it, anonymous marking, it's the absence of student names from their submissions at the point of marking. So basically, when I go in and do the live demo, I'll show you that when it comes to actually marking the student's work, the lecturers will not be able to see the students' names. And then afterwards, once they finish marking, they can reveal the grades and give the work back to the students. To be honest, this has been on the cards really, for a good while here at LSBU, and there's a number of reasons for that. And I've listed a few of them here. So first of all, it will allow students to feel more comfortable about commenting or rating on the quality of their courses, especially if they know that there is this blind marking process has happened while they've been on the course. Secondly, the Students' Union has heavily supported this proposal for over a year or so, and as a way of minimizing conscious or unconscious bias in the marking process. And thirdly, it is a safeguard for lecturers, as marking is also, there's a perception, and it is a perception on the behalf of students that sometimes the marking process is not fair as they perceive it. Okay, and it would alleviate those fears as well. So those are the main drivers of why it's actually happened. And as I say, it's now the default option from this week. Okay, what I'd like to do now is just go into Moodle. So I'm going to switch the view that you'll see. So in a few seconds, and hopefully almost straight away, you'll now see in front of you the Moodle site. So I'm going to go into a Moodle module. This is my test module. So in here, I've set up a module with anonymous marking enabled. So it's this one here. First of all, I'll just show you where the default option is. So I'm going to turn editing on. I'm going to go to that module. I'm going to edit the settings on the assignment. So these are the normal assignment settings, and when you set up an assignment, if you've already done so, you would fill in the relevant details here and check the dates. If you scroll down towards the bottom of the options, you'll see the heading grade. So if you click on grade, and then again about 3/4 of the way down, you can see blind marking. And this is the option for anonymous marking. So the default option is that it is yes. And as I said before, if you want to change that, you would have to make that clear to the students as to why you changed it. Okay. All right, so that's already set up. Let me go back to it. Okay, so once the students have submitted their work, the normal place to access their assignments is to click on the link, and as the lecturer, you get a summary. So on this particular assignment, there are only 2 students, 2 participants, and both of these students have submitted their work, and as you can see, both of these pieces of work needed grading. So I could go and grade them straight away, or I can view the submissions. So I'm going to view the submissions. And this is the view that you'd get when blind marking is switched on. So this is a very simple example. There are only 2 students in this course, in this module. So these are the 2 students. They have, the status shows that both of these students have submitted a piece of work, and they've handed in the piece of work, and you have to mark it as the lecturer. Clearly, you can see here that instead of the students' names, Moodle has a column that says identifier. So what Moodle does, it generates a random number. So in this first case, the number is 1259885, and that number is unique to that particular student, but it is not the student ID number. So it is not the number that they are expected, that the students are issued when they enroll on the course. It's just specific to Moodle. Before we actually look at reveal the student identities, we have 2 options in terms of marking. So the first option would be to download the entire module's assignments, save them, and then maybe mark them offline. So one option then is to, if we go to the top where it says grading action, in the drop down box there are different options. So we can choose download all submissions. I won't click on that, but if that's the case, that was the option we wanted, what it would do is download all the student submissions, it would put them into a zip file, and then we could save them onto our PC or to our laptop or memory stick. We could go through them and then mark them, And then when we're ready, when we finish the whole class's marking, we could re-upload them. So we could upload the students' work back into the grade book. Okay, so that's one option if we're going to do it entirely in that method. Alternately, we could mark the individual students' work one by one. So to do that, where it says the heading grade, I'm going to click on the option that says grade, and just take a couple of seconds to download that page, and then when it's ready, we can see this again. There's at the top of the page, it does not reveal the student's identity. It's still using this randomly generated number that Moodle has allocated to this student. At the top of the page, we'll see the student's work. So this is the link to the actual submission. So if I was going to mark this piece of work, I would download the piece of work there. Typically speaking, I'd probably use Word to add comments to it as I went through it, and then once I've marked the whole piece of work, I would then allocate a grade to it. So I'm just going to I'll put a grade in there just so you can see it. So I'm going to go 67, this mark, so 67 out of 100, so 67%. Moodle gives you the option to put some general feedback. So, so obviously you can put a lot more than well done into that particular section there. And then along with that, you could maybe re-upload the file if you've put any comments into the actual student's piece of work. So to do that, if we just click on the add file icon, go to browse, and if I select a file, so I've got an assignment here with comments, go open, and then upload this file. So you can see it's relatively easy then to actually upload the individual student's work with any individual comments you've put on the assignment. Once you've done all of that, you could just go save changes, and it gives you confirmation those changes have been made. And then I could similarly move to the next student's piece of work. Again, I look at the student's piece of work, give it an overall comment, and re-upload the assignment if I wanted to here as well. So, and I'll go save changes to that. And again, likewise, it gives you confirmation there. All right, so I've marked both students' pieces of work. So I can now go back, and I can see now that the two grades have been incorporated into it, and in the first one we actually gave feedback. We've got a copy of the feedback file there as well. So at the end, when actually you finish the marking, that would be the time then when you could reveal the student identities. To do so, you go to the top of the page, and where it says grading action, you click on the download, and then we have the option reveal student identities. So it's the third option down, and you need to click on that option there, so reveal student identities, and then it just gives you a confirmation box. So it says, are you sure you want to reveal student identities for this assignment? The operation cannot be undone. Once the students' identities have been revealed, any marks that have already been released by a marking workflow will be released to the gradebook and available to the students. So it's very clearly saying to you there that actually once you reveal the student identities, the grades will be available eventually to the students, but you cannot then hide the student identities. Okay, so if we're happy with that, click on continue. And now you can see there's been a change in terms of what the gradebook looks like. So instead of having the randomly generated number, the students' identities will be revealed. So it now has the column first name stroke surname. So in this case, we have two dummy students, Del Sampit student 4 and Del Sampit student 1, but typically speaking here would be the first and second name of the students. So I don't know, if it was me submitting it, it'd be Chris Rowell or John Smith or Joan Smith or whatever it is. And at that stage then you would see the students' work. Okay, so that's really the unraveling of the anonymous marking process. The final thing then will be to reveal the students' grades or give the grades back to the students. So that could be done individually, but probably it's best, well, not probably, it is in most cases best that you reveal all the grades back to the students in one go. To do so, we'd set the marking workflow state from the drop-down options at the bottom of the names. So click on there. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Before that, you need to select the entire group. So I've selected there. Then click on the down box and select marking workflow state, and then click go. So it's just confirmation box has popped up there. Click OK, and then I would, in the drop down box where it says marking workflow state, I would select released and then save changes. And then it gives you confirmation there again. So the status, the student's work has been submitted for grading, and then you've released it, and it gives you confirmation that it's been released there. Okay, that's it in terms of a sort of demonstration of the actual process in Moodle. What I want to do now is go back so again, if you just bear with me for a couple of seconds, just while the slides arise on the screen. Yep, okay, and that should be in front of you now. So in terms of further help beyond this webinar, all you need to do is go to, there's on the top left hand, within Moodle, on the top left hand of your screen, there's a blue button saying Moodle Help. So if you click on that Moodle Help, you'll get 3 different options. So 3 different links really. So the first link will take you to some online guides. So these are either videos or sort of paper-based guides that you can actually take you through the process of anonymous marking or even giving grades back to the students. You can book some one-to-one sessions with the digital skills team who can give you face-to-face help with any of these things that I've taught through. And then if there's a technical issue, there are the details of the IT help desk. Okay, we have some future webinars. In fact, just because it is such a recent change, the anonymous marking, I'm running exactly the same webinar next week. So next Wednesday at 1 o'clock and next Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'll be running a similar webinar on anonymous marking. Those details are up on the intranet, but they'll also be advertised on Yammer. And then over the course of this semester, there will be other webinars tackling other issues to do with things to do with electronic feedback, what's new in Moodle, checking a Moodle site health check. So it's basically checking what you've put into your Moodle site. And then towards the end of this semester, we'll be doing webinars on getting your Moodle site ready for next semester. Okay, I will leave my contact details up on the screen. So if you have any specific questions at a later date, you can contact me there. Okay, I see that looking at the chat room conversation, seems like Ross is having some problems in terms of sound. What I'll do is, Ross, I'll make, if you're still there, probably if you can't hear me now anyway, but I will make this record. I've got a recording of this, and I can maybe send you the link to the recording as well, and maybe there's 2 other sessions as well next week. All right, so I'll leave my contact details up there, but I will actually stop the recording now.